Hi, I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from YourBlackWorld.com, and you know that one of the things that I love to do is bring things to you and people to you that will empower you and inform you and inspire you. Well, this man that is on the line with me today, his name is Etan Thomas. He is a graduate of Syracuse University. He also happened to play in the NBA, but that's not why he's here. That's not why I respect him. I respect him because he is working overtime to help all of us to rise above the stereotypes that exist in our community, especially those that affect our children and affect fatherhood. He's actually written an amazing book on fatherhood, which I'm going to allow him to tell you about. And first of all, I want to ask Etan, how you doing today, brother?
I'm pretty good. How you doing?
Doing real good, man. Doing real good. Now tell me about your book on fatherhood. What's this all about, and why should people buy it?
Well, what I wanted to do in the book, and first thing I always tell people, I'm not a fatherhood expert or anything like that by any stretch of the imagination. I just wanted to get a lot of men from all different walks of life talking about fatherhood and different subjects. So what I did was I broke down each chapter into different topics. So say one chapter is talking about how much you love your kids and showing the joy that you have and just everyday life with your kids. And I have Tay Diggs talking about that. Or I have Stuart Scott talking about how much he loves his kids. And then another chapter will be getting past the anger of not having your father there. And then I, have different people talking about that. And but one of the main things that I wanted to do with this book was to inspire an entire group of young people who are growing up in a situation where they don't have a father in their home. So it's like, so what happens to them? A lot of times, the experts will throw a lot of negative statistics at them. And I heard it when I was younger. I grew up in a single parent household. And you hear those negative statistics all the time. And after a while, you start believing them. And the fact is that there are a lot of men who are able to make it and be successful who came from single parent households. So I wanted them to not just hear me say it, but hear Ice Cube say it. You know what I mean? Hear Michael Moore say it. Hear Kevin Durant talk about how he was able to make it in a single parent household and the connection that he has with his mom. You see him every day after the game. Every game he wins, he goes and he kisses his mom. Well, that's a special connection that they have because it's like it was him and his brother and his mom like against the world. And that's how I grew up. And, I just wanted it to be inspiring for young people.
Interesting. Well, and I agree with you. I'm a dad and I love being a dad. I've even been a dad to kids that I did not create. And I think that anybody who misses that opportunity is really missing out on something very special. And I liked your book. What impressed me the most was that you got some really good contributors on this book. I mean, how hard was that? How long did it take you to compile all those individuals and get them to actually make contributions to the book?
Well, interestingly enough, when I first started the book, I thought about doing it on a much smaller scale. My wife really encouraged me. She was like, no, just keep asking people. I've met a lot of different people throughout the years, being in the NBA for 11 years, a lot of stuff involved politically. She was like, just ask people. All they could say is no. So I was like, right? So I just started asking people. So I asked Kareem, and I asked, Dr. Cornel West, and then I asked Tony Dungy, and, I asked Ice Cube, and I asked Tony Hawk and Andre Agassi, and it just kind of kept going. And everybody's reaction was amazing. They were like, yeah, we would love to do that. That's great. What do you want us to do? I was like, really? Okay, cool. So I just kept asking people. I asked John King from CNN, and I asked Yao Ming, and I asked, Tay Diggs, and I just kept going. And it's a subject that, men would love to talk about. We just don't really talk about it that much. You know what I mean? You don't really see a lot of things where men are just talking about different aspects of fatherhood and this amount of depth. I mean, I really wanted to get certain people like Ice Cube. I do a lot of work at correctional facilities, and I talk to young people all the time. I talk to them about how they don't have to go this way; they can make the right choice and things like that. But to get Ice Cube saying it, you know what I mean? To get Styles P saying it, you know what I mean? That just gives us so much more weight because young people listen to athletes and entertainers. And I've been blessed to play in the NBA, you know what I mean? And I've used it especially around D.C., going to different schools and things like that throughout my whole career. So I know how young people react to people that they recognize. And it's just saying the same positive things that they've always that people have always said to them, but just you're hearing it from their personal experiences. And it just makes it that more effective. So this is really to inspire a whole young generation that really gets ignored sometimes. They get the negative statistics about how terrible the situation is, about how they can't make it, how they're, because they're in a broken home, they're more likely to end up in jail or end up, pregnant or end up something negative. And I'm like, okay, so, you have these people that grew up in this situation like I did when I was growing up that always heard the negativity. So now what? How do you inspire them to make it despite all of those negative statistics, despite the fact that it might be hard? Despite that there might be more difficult challenge, but there are other people who have done it before you. So it kind of just shows, if I see that these people have done it, then I could do it too. If I read Barry Davis' story and he's talking about, how rough he had it, you know what I mean? He grew up in South Central in the middle of gang territory, and he goes into detail about it. And, if he was able to make it and be successful and be focused, you know what I mean? Then you can make it too. Now, a lot of people will say, well, yeah, that's sports. You know what I mean? So, yeah, he can make it to the NBA. But I always use the example. There's a lot of guys that I see that are in jail that should be in the NBA. There's a lot of guys that I knew growing up that went to gangs and went to all kind of different things, and they should have been playing in the NBA before I was. So whatever it is that your goal is, whatever it is that you want to reach, you can't let anybody stop you. No matter what situation, no matter what your circumstance is. You have to know that, yeah, things are going to be tough. Actually, in society, things are set up for you to fail. There's a reason why in your school that there's brand new metal detectors and old books. You know what I mean? And there's a reason why they're going to take you and judge you, and judge your standardized tests to the schools in the suburbs like y'all to get the same education. You know what I mean? There's a reason why things are that way, but you got to know it and then know how to way to navigate around it. It's not just like you're pointing this out and then saying, okay, so this is why I can't make it. Not at all. Things are not the way that they should be. Yeah, you don't have the most favorable situation at home. You don't have the most favorable situation in your school, in society, whatever it is. But here are these people that were able to make it.
Well, what I really like also about the approach you're taking is that it is one that is balanced in the sense that you can't get around the conversation about the inequality that exists in our society and the hurdles that exist. But then you can't use that as a crutch either. You have to tell them, look, this is the terrain you're working on, understand the terrain and succeed anyway, because we have to remember the United States, we're the richest country in the world. We have so many opportunities that are there if you want to go and pursue them. That's why so many people are happy to come to the United States, because there are opportunities to be successful if that's what you really want. Now, one of the things that I also found very interesting about your story, and this is kind of odd, sad, and ironic because, to some extent I might be leaning on a media created stereotype, but a lot of people are not accustomed to athletes really caring about social issues. They're accustomed to athletes caring about the money and the bling and and all these things that don't matter, kind of behaving like rappers to some extent. A lot of athletes get their influence culturally from hip hop artists. I believe, my theory is that's why you see a lot of these friendships form between athletes and entertainers, etc. First of all, what is it that makes you different, in terms of doing what you do? But then second of all, is this just a misperception? Are there other individuals like yourself within the NBA who would like to speak out but feel that they can't or don't have the time? Or what's stopping them from really coming together to kind of doing things similar to what you're doing right now?
Well, I think a combination of things. For one, there's a lot of different athletes that are like this. You know what I mean? There's a certain stereotype that the media tries to portray of athletes. And I actually had devoted an entire chapter to this topic in the book where I talked about stereotypes. And, Chuck D talked about the stereotypes in music. Roland Martin talked about the stereotypes in politics. And Dave Zirin, and I challenged David Aldridge a little bit with some of the media coverage of athletes and the negativity that they like to perpetuate. And, they love showing the image of the negative athletes with all the baby mamas and all the bling and, child support pay, all that negative stories. Those will be the first thing on SportsCenter. You know what I mean? But they won't show Derek Fisher's great story that he has. Or that's why I wanted to show Grant Hill and the story when he talks about his father. It's like, I got chills. I was like, wow, that's how I want my son Malcolm to talk about me when he grows up. but they don't show that. So I wanted to really be able to showcase that as well. I wanted to show Allen Houston talking about his kids. And it is something that if you only show somebody negativity, then they start thinking that's all that there is. That's all that there is. It's like on, remember in Malcolm X, when Elijah Muhammad came out and he poured the water in the glass, and then he poured the iodine in it, and he said, if you offer this to the people, they have no choice but to drink it. And then he poured the other one in the clear glass, and he said, if you offer them both, then they can choose. And that's the thing. The media is only offering one. They're only offering the ugly side with the negativity and the iodine in it. But there's so much more to different people, but it doesn't make the news. It doesn't make the top of Sports Center. So let an athlete go out. Let me go out right here and do something negative. Anything negative. That would be the top of Sports Center. The top of Sports Center. That's just the way it is. That'll be on the tinker. They'll interrupt what's going on to say what I just did that was negative. You know what I mean? And David Aldridge, kind of was making the point that, negativity sells, but he was like, that's where the athletes can kind of say, have control over that a little bit more with their actions and things like that. And I was like, that's not fair though, because you don't put the same emphasis on the positive stories. Now, if you gave them both, I would say, okay, that's cool. And I'll even say, with David Stern, I mean, he's doing a great job with the NBA Cares of showing athletes doing positive things. Now, of course, it's for, PR reasons, but still, if it wasn't for that, you wouldn't see our athletes they do a lot of things in their community all the time. You know what I mean? But you would never see it. So it's unfortunate that the media focuses so much on negativity, but that's, I think, a reflection of society. That's what happens. I mean, the reality shows with all the negative stuff that goes on, those are the top rated shows. Those are things that they show all the time. The negative music that they play, constantly on the radio over and over again until it gets ingrained in your head. That's what they show. That much, they don't put and everybody. No, they don't do that. They want you to talk about something negative so you can get all the play.
Well, anybody who knows, who's listening, who knows anything about the way I think, knows that just that last couple paragraphs you spit, it probably spurred 10 million thoughts in my head, a million tangents that I could go down right now in this conversation, but I'm going to refrain from that. I'm going to suppress my ADD tendencies here, and we're going to hit that in the future though, because I think that should be an ongoing conversation. And I want to encourage people to buy your book and give us the title of your book. Is it Fatherhood?
It's Fatherhood, Rising to the Ultimate Challenge. Tony Dungy did the forward and Cornell West did the conclusion.
All right. Well, it's an outstanding project, brother. I congratulate you on it. Proud to say that you are a Syracuse alum, which is definitely a plus in your favor. And I want you to keep doing what you're doing. I want you to keep doing what you're doing, and I'm going to keep communicating with you, because I agree with you 100%. I think that these messages need to be shared. And while we know that there are plenty of knuckleheads out here, there are more men like yourself who want to do good things with their lives. And also, there are even some knuckleheads who would be doing good things with their lives if they were given a choice, if they knew that was an option for individuals, for black men in America. So thank you very much for your time, Etan. I appreciate it.
Oh, well, thank you. And it's an honor. I look up to you, and I've been reading your books and reading all of your work for a long time. Thanks a lot. Thanks for doing what you do and laying the path for people like me to be able to follow.
Oh, well, hey, I'm honored. I'm flattered. Thank you very much, brother. And thank you all for checking us out at yourblackworld.com. Please keep coming back. And until we meet again, please stay strong, be blessed, and be educated. We are gone. Peace.